Hi, everybody. Welcome to my video series, Open Doors with Lori Tips for Buyers and Sellers. I'm doing this video series because I really like to educate potential buyers and sellers on what all is involved in a real estate purchase or transaction. So today I'm speaking with Ryan Fraelich, who is a loan officer with J. Arnold Mortgage Loan Advisors. So, hi, Ryan. Thank
Hi, Lori.
you. We've been trying to do this for quite a while,
Yep.
but Ryan is one of the lenders that I use regularly, and there's reasons for that. So, I am going to first introduce Ryan with his uniqueness that I think is really beneficial is that Ryan is a broker. So that means that he has access to a variety of lenders versus just being at one particular lending institution. So, Ryan, would you explain the benefit of that?
So when you're working with a broker, what you get over your traditional MLO at, say, a bank
Mm-hmm.
is whereas that MLO is at the one bank, I'm at a lot of banks.
Yeah.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just the one set of options I can provide to you. I can provide you multiple sets of options. So, like,
Right.
if one bank, and also that allows me to offer different interest rates. So, if
Oh,
one
that's
bank's
important.
offering a higher interest rate and
Mm-hmm.
they have higher restrictions and kind of the loans they want to do, we go with a
Mm-hmm.
lender that has lower interest rates and easier restrictions to go with.
Mm-hmm. Um, I know one of the loans we did was self-employed.
Mhm.
And then I know you've done some investor loans. Are there any other unique loans that you do for people who do real estate?
I've also done bank statement loans. That's
Mm-hmm.
where we 12 months of bank statements. That those are
Mm-hmm.
for our individuals who are self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also do DSCR. That's debt service coverage ratio. That's where we just confirm that you've got enough money to cover the loan monthly payment,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go from there. Very popular with investors who
Yeah.
utilize the rental income
Mm-hmm.
basically to qualify themselves. I also do VA, FHA, USDA, your standard conventional. It runs the gamut. And I'm sure there's even loans that I'm not even aware that I can actually do.
One of the things that I will say about you, Ryan, is that I've seen you pull like a rabbit out of the hat where something happened and we thought, that's it, the deal is dead. And you always say, okay, just give me 24 hours, let me work on this. And
Mhm,
the three out of the three times we were able to close a little bit past the deadline, but we
mhm.
closed and the buyer and the seller, everybody was happy. So I don't know if you're allowed to share how you're able to pull rabbits out of your hat, but I will just say that's one of your unique features that, because not everybody is people who are trying to get pre approved. Life always happens, and not
Mhm.
everybody has squeaky clean credit. And so, because you have access to other lenders, you're able to kind of get that done. Like, for example, there was a lender who told one of our mutual clients that, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to fund this. We cannot finance this.
Mhm.
And you said, give me his information, and you took it from there. And I think we actually closed on time. So those are some of the things that as realtors that we want to make sure we have really solid people on our team that can help our buyers. So,
Absolutely. To kind of speak on that, I don't know exactly always what I might be doing differently from other lenders. I mean,
mm-hmm,
I don't keep I don't stalk my other lenders and my
mm-hmm,
competition, and that just kind of I kind of do me. And I
mm-hmm,
think part of it might just be the fact that it's asking questions. I mean, I don't claim to know everything, but I do claim to be able to find the answers to things. And sometimes it's as
Mm-hmm.
simple as that, is kind of looking at it and saying, okay, well, if they do this, does that allow us to do that? And
Mm-hmm.
I do work with multiple great lenders whose underwriting teams will talk with me and help me work through a solution. I actually just closed a deal a week or so ago where I was even looking at it, and I got kind of concerned about the ability for us to complete the loan. But I was
Mm-hmm.
very fortunate that I had an underwriter who did literally look at it and go, "Hey, I have a thought," because of
Mm-hmm.
being able to look at the client and
Mm-hmm.
kind of what they were able to bring with them in terms of closing costs and stuff like that. She kind of looked it over and she goes, "Well, if they do this, they qualify."
Nice.
And that really, I mean, that really spoke to her abilities as an underwriter and her willingness to go above and beyond. And in fact, sometimes I think you know this as well as me. It's playing nice when you present to people your willingness to work hard and your dedication, and are very nice and friendly with people. It sounds silly, but that opens more doors than if I try to act like I'm the most knowledgeable person.
Right.
um, well, we can't do it. Well, what if we do this? And
Yeah.
hey, I hate to bother you, but if we do this, can we? I think that that keeps it vague enough without giving away all my secrets.
And I'm glad you brought up the word underwriter because some buyers, because there's this process, like when they fill out their application with you, they are dealing with you. And so then halfway through the transaction, then we start saying the underwriter, because they'll say, hey, look, we gave you all this information. Why are you asking for this? And then we have to say it's the underwriter who's asking for it. So can you explain what so you're the loan officer and then there's an underwriter who does what?
So when you work and you're doing your loans, and I think
Mm-hmm.
actually the fact that I do take the applications, I'm a one man shop, so I
Mm-hmm.
process a lot of this stuff. I do have some assistance with processing from lenders and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But I think when we're talking about underwriting, it's basically it goes from me, and I would love that every lender trusts me with my clients and absolutely say, yeah, of course we'll give you the loan. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So what happens is
Mm-hmm.
I present the documents to the lender. The lender provides it to an underwriting department that gets a
Mm-hmm.
person on it who
Mm-hmm.
knows the regulations or is able to easily grab it. They look
Mm-hmm.
through the documents. They're completely a third party, so they don't know our
Right.
client, and
Right.
they just black and white look over everything. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they silly where it's like they forget that they provided documents. And I've had it where they go, Ryan, I
Mm-hmm.
already gave you that document. I was like, hold on, let me
Mm-hmm.
look through it. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
did. Let me notify the underwriter that they've already
Mm-hmm.
seen that,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure they're aware that we've already provided this. Or sometimes it's the underwriter giving us a chance to provide them with something different that allows us to continue with the deal.
Right. So I always explain that to the buyers too, that the underwriter doesn't know you. They are just looking at dotting I's and crossing T's. They know the regulations in lending, so they have to follow their regulations, and everything has to be really neat and tied up with a bow. So,
And also,
some, uh-huh,
it's completely equal footing. And that's what a lot of people
mm-hmm,
don't get. Oh, this
yeah,
underwriter doesn't like me. Underwriter
mm-hmm,
doesn't care who you are. They
right,
have to hold you to the exact same standards that they hold everybody else to. And
absolutely.
so as such, they can get a bit strict, and sometimes we just have to kind of warm their hearts.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think is unique about you is that you kind of like the you're able to give the underwriter even some solution or a different way to look at it sometimes. But I will say that you do work really hard on behalf of buyers because I've
Well,
seen
thank
deals just about dead and then you found a way to get it done. So, and a lot of people ask me this too, and I don't know if you can answer this question because it seems like it's different depending on who it is or what, there's other factors. But everybody's asking me, what is the current interest rate? Do you happen to know that? Or it just depends
So
on your
we
credit score?
it really does. I always
Mm-hmm.
I try to put it that interest rates are going to be like a fingerprint to you. And it's going to
Okay.
involve your credit. It's going to involve the money you have down.
Mm-hmm.
You have 20%. Oftentimes, the interest rate's going to be better than if you're only putting down 3%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you have an 800 credit score, the interest rate is oftentimes going to be potentially better than those with a 640 credit score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I can sit there and tell you that interest rates currently are like 6.5 to 7% because that's about the average right now.
Okay.
Um, but even with that stated, uh, it's not necessarily that you're going to get that interest rate. Some clients are
Mm-hmm.
going to get an interest rate of 6.99. Some clients are going to get an interest rate of 7.375, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really what is the most beneficial to their particular situation at that time.
Gotcha.
Um, and I mean, you've heard me say this. Um, Oftentimes we're playing poker, and so we're trying to provide the best hand. And we have to do some stuff
Mm-hmm.
to make sure we're providing the best hand for our client that allows them to be in the house
Mm-hmm.
and afford their home and be able still to go out to dinner on Friday nights with their family.
Right, right. And one of the things that I know you have you said this to some of our mutual clients is in the event that interest rates go down, and they typically do, if that
Mhm.
person happens to end up with a higher rate, they are able to refinance. And
Yes.
what does that mean? Like when they refinance, are they starting over on their loan? Are their payments getting lower? Do they have to apply for it just like a regular loan, credit score, and all that kind of information?
So when we're talking about a refinance,
Mm-hmm.
it's very interesting because oftentimes what we're just doing is we're taking your loan and getting you a lower interest rate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask me, well, is do they have to start over with the loan terms? Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily.
Okay.
Sometimes you might talk to a client, it's not only that they want the interest rate a little bit lower, but they want their payment to be even further. And you might sit there and see, well, you've had your loan for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can lower the payments even further if you want to go back to 30 years, and
Oh, gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
recommend that, but
Yeah.
it's something our clients can do. What's even becoming more popular with, as you know, Lori, home values are going higher and higher up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Oftentimes, if you bought your house and you put down 5%, you might find that after a year or two, your home is now worth so much that you can actually refinance so that your equity percentage in the house, that's the amount of home you own,
Mm-hmm.
the simplest way I can put it,
Mm-hmm.
goes to that 20%, and you can drop what we call private mortgage insurance. Um,
Right.
or PMI, you can drop that from what you're paying monthly. And what private mortgage insurance is basically the lenders insuring you to the point that you get to your what would be the 20% down payment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
I
know,
was just explaining that to a new buyer. Now, if you're going FHA, does that PMI ever drop off? Or is that certain loans?
you never have PMA on a Veterans Affairs loan or a VA loan.
Okay.
You do have the PMI on FHA for the life of the loan. You don't get
Mm-hmm.
out of that unless you refinance out of FHA into a
Into,
conventional loan.
gotcha.
And once you're in a conventional loan, you can request to have the PMI removed once you hit 18% equity in the house.
Okay.
But they have to remove it at 20. And as I understand it, I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I was like, yeah, you can request it. I've never seen a lender actually give you the remove the PMI at 18%. They
Right.
want you at that 20.
Yeah. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you think would be pertinent to this? I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. Here's something. Typically, buyers want to know, how long does this whole process take? And I usually say anywhere from 30 to 45 days.
Hmm.
and they're like, why so long? Because sometimes they think we filled out the application, we gave them all our paperwork, we
Mhm.
got an accepted offer, let's go. So what is
Mhm.
happening during those 30 to 45 days?
Oftentimes underwriting.
Mm-hmm.
So we say, and I include you in this. We say 30 to 45 days because, and you know this from experience, the it's oftentimes due to our clients when they get asked for further documents.
Right.
I tell my clients always up front, hey, you want to get your homeowner's insurance squared away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's something I can help them out with, as I'm also a licensed insurance agent. But if they've got a friend or a family member that does insurance, that's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fine by me.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazes me how often I go, okay, hey, what's going on with the home insurance? Oh, I haven't gotten the quote yet. And they don't
Right.
realize how important that is to the
Yeah.
entire process.
Right.
Because if it ends up being too high, it could monkey
Mm.
up the ability for them
Mm-hmm.
to actually qualify for their home loan.
That is a good point.
So
Yeah.
so that's one aspect to it is really it's the clients getting us documentation. I have had situations where the loan processed in less than a week. And
Mm-hmm.
that's business. So
Mm-hmm.
it was done within 6 days, and a very heavy exception to the rule. Um, that's part of it. But not only is it our own clients that we have to kind of herd like cats, it's also the underwriter getting them on it because your
Mm-hmm.
underwriter is not just your underwriter. They're also,
Right.
they might have 20, 30 files that they're also looking at a given time.
Right. Right.
So we get in a line and we have to go through that. And oftentimes it
Mm-hmm.
turns 24, 48 hours, depending on the loan you're
Right.
doing.
Yeah.
But it's not only that kind of holds the process underwriting, it is the appraisal. You have to get an appraisal to confirm the value of your house. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to send a person out there, an independent third party that's licensed as an appraiser.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be me or you, Lori, you know that. And we
No, it
can't just
cannot.
Joe Schmo to do it. Somebody has to go out and look at the house and go, yeah, it's worth what they're saying, or it's worth less than what they say, or it's worth more than
Mm-hmm.
what.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in addition to all that, too, we also have title. And title is what makes the entire process completely legal. And what title is doing is going behind the scenes and making sure that the house you're buying is actually owned by the person selling it, and that
Mm-hmm.
there's no liens. And what a lien is it's a there's somebody doesn't own part of that house. A great
Mm-hmm.
example: we ran into a situation where there was a lien on a property and we were supposed to close, and we found out, well, we can't close because there's a lien on the house. The seller owes money to somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
both me and the realtor said to title, just make the seller pay it. Well,
Yeah.
that lien was 4 times as much as the house.
Oh boy.
And that was a like
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. It's not going to close because that
Yeah.
lien's there. And now we're not giving
Yeah.
a clean title. It's not legally clean.
Right.
But we got this is where magic happened is title worked with me on that. And
Mm-hmm.
reminded title, it was a really weird situation that the person that was the seller also owned another house. And the lien
Oh.
holder, the person who was owed the money, was willing to transfer their lien from the house being sold
Oh. To
to
the
the
other
other house.
house.
Now, that's
Wow.
another exception to the rule that doesn't
Right.
always happen. And we got
Wow.
very lucky in that situation and were able to
Mm-hmm.
transfer the lien over and present a clean title. But that's the other item as well is making sure everything is nice and legal for the clients that they're
Mm-hmm.
buying a house that, no one's going to come after them and try and take the house from them.
Right.
The
So
only
I
lien
hope
holder should be the mortgage company.
that's right. And I've had
Mhm.
that, a couple times where, and most times the seller doesn't know there's a lien on their house until
Mhm.
it comes up. Sometimes they do, and we can get ahead of it, but most times they don't. It's just something that, took them completely by surprise, and it's just a thing that happens. It's a hiccup. And so, what
Yeah.
I hope that potential buyers who are listening to this or watching this will
Mhm.
understand all of the third parties involved So there's bound to be hiccups and there's going to be delays sometimes. But it's really common when you have like four or five different parties working on a transaction, all from a different angle. Those kind of things are going to happen. But that's why we hire professionals, licensed professionals who knows how to work through that, navigate through all of that. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that because sometimes people freak out when they think when something happens, they have a hiccup, they think this is a disaster. Maybe we shouldn't be buying a house. But when there is a hiccup, that just means that you're buying a house.
Yeah. And Lori, I think one of the really great things that works with both of us is our ability to have conversations together with our mutual clients and
Mm-hmm.
kind of talk
Mm-hmm.
through the situations. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, you end up being a therapist to the clients, basically going, "Yes, I know Ryan presented something. It seems like it's a really scary situation.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, we've got
Mm-hmm.
it. It's
Yes.
handled. This is not the first time that
Right.
it's ever happened. We're
Yes.
gonna wrap it up." He would say, "We're done," if he thought it was done, but
Right.
we're in each of those situations, we've been successful and able to
Mm-hmm.
close the loan, and then you get a wonderful email months later where they're showing them living in the house, and that's
Yes.
always
Yeah.
fantastic. Mhm.
Right. That's what we do this for.
Mhm. And the one thing I always want to say this is
Mm-hmm.
be as truthful as possible.
Yes.
It
Good point.
makes the process so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to tell people, listen, I'm a very happily married man. All right. We're not going to go on a date. So you don't have to try and impress me with with your income. I just need to know what the income is and we'll go
Mm-hmm.
from there. But
Yeah.
and figure it out. If you're truthful, if you tell us what's going on. I'm trying to think. We had a wild situation where a client asked us, he goes, "Hey, I'm going to get a job that's going to pay me more money. Is it going to be a problem if I start that earlier?" And I was looking at it and I went, "Actually, that makes a lot of stuff a lot easier." So
Mm-hmm.
told me
Mm-hmm.
exactly what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in a situation where his partner, we're having trouble qualifying their income, and
Mm-hmm.
because he got a better job and he was upfront with me about it to ask me what he should do, we were able to close even faster than we thought we could.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's people being upfront with us like that that makes everything much easier.
So important. I'm glad you said that because I had one client, and just so people know, I don't do finances, and the lender doesn't do real estate. So sometimes a buyer will ask me a financial question. I always direct them back to the lender, but
Mhm.
the buyer said, "Well, I filled out my application, but I filled it out like with the money that I'm going to make." And so
Mhm.
it doesn't work like that all the time
Yeah.
because once he started giving paperwork, it was like you make actually 10 grand less than what you reported. So always, always, always be honest and upfront. Then we can get ahead of it. And so then there's no hiccups because it always shows up. And sometimes it shows up towards the end of the transaction and then there's delays and all of that. So just be truthful. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, it is exactly what is provable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. I was told a story by a mortgage loan originator who'd been doing this well before the market crash in 2008. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "It used to be you walked into the bank, you said, 'Hey, I'm looking to get a loan.' And they went, 'How much do you make?' And you could
Right.
be, well, I work at a restaurant. I'm a cook.
Mm-hmm.
I make $500,000." And they go, "Great,
Mm-hmm.
there you go." And they took you at the word of it,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to make this amount of money. But
Mm-hmm.
because of the financial crash that happened in
Yeah.
'08,
Yeah.
it is very much, and I've told people this, they're not going to let you buy a house you can't afford because they do not want this house foreclosed upon. They've
Mm-hmm.
already done this before. They're not interested in doing that again. So this is the best way to go. You know,
Yep.
so just we just have
Mm-hmm.
to go through it. Mhm.
Yep. Just go with the flow, be honest, and purchase what you can afford.
Mhm.
So I think that's all I wanted to bring up. Is there anything that you wanted to say about the lending process that I might have missed?
No, I think we gave a fairly decent overview of it. I would
Mm-hmm.
invite anybody who's watching this video, if they have further questions, to reach out to you, Lori, and have them get in touch with me so that
Mm-hmm.
I can answer any specific questions. Oh, and maybe that's the final point I make is everybody's worried about asking questions. And
Mm-hmm.
I always liken it this way. You only buy a house maybe two or three times in your life.
Mm-hmm. And
Maybe.
maybe.
Oftentimes you're
Mm-hmm.
only getting the one house.
Right.
And so for that reason, you're not going to be an expert. And that's completely okay. Um, I'm not an expert in the fields that my clients come to me in. I had a great
Mm-hmm.
client. He was a car mechanic. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to fix a car at all. That's why I bring it
Mm-hmm.
to you guys.
Right.
And if we were down this line, I would sit there and ask you questions. Okay, why'd this break down? Why'd this do this? Why'd that do that?
Mm-hmm.
What- And hopefully it's a better answer than, well, if you put oil in your car, you know. Um, but for that very reason, I'm not the expert in these fields, but this is where I'm an expert in. This is where you're an expert in. And for that reason, I insist upon our mutual clients, all my clients, asking me questions and not to
Mm-hmm.
hesitate about it.
Yeah,
It's all the better if they do. Much
that's
easier
right.
process, actually, if they ask me questions.
Yes, it is. As long as everybody understands, and then they're less stressed about it if they understand the process. So, yeah,
Yep.
that is the importance of using professionals in real estate transactions because everybody's licensed and has expertise in the various areas that they work in. So, very good. Thank you, Ryan.
So welcome.
Ryan, it gives me these cute little, what are they called? Every time we close a
Oh,
deal.
They're Funko Pops. I give you Funko Pops of Disney characters. Yeah.
Right. I had never heard of them before. And
Yeah.
now I have several of them in my office. So thank you.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
All right,
I
guys.
like that it
So
stands out.
yeah, right. So you're different. And I will encourage everybody that you're thinking if you're watching this, listening to this, and you have some questions, just feel free to reach out to Ryan or myself. I'll have the contact. I have our contact information in this post. So feel free to do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ryan. We
Thank you,
will
Lori.
talk soon.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode in my video series, Open Doors with Lori, Tips for Buyers and Sellers. If you have questions about anything that we discussed today, feel free to reach out to me, 330-559-4773. Thank you.